I'm Peyton Ivey. This is my grandmother Debbie Shaw and my mother Leslie Ivey.
I grew up in a Baptist church in Houston, and Kurt grew up in the Methodist church in Houston, First Methodist Houston. And we both came from backgrounds that we didn't miss a Sunday, and we always went to church. And he was involved in all the youth group, and I was involved in everything at my church. And so when we first got married, we didn't talk about faith till we got married, right? So then we're married, and I said, well, where are we going to church? And so he would not go to the Baptist church. He would not. So I went with him to the Methodist church, and I was very comfortable in my older faith, my original faith. I loved the 5-step plan of salvation. I had done all that. I had my faith was in a box. I loved it. I carried it around with me. I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to think. And it bothered me at first that the Methodist church allowed you to ask questions, ask things that you never thought of before, and I was uncomfortable. I really was. There was no altar call. There was no one asked you to come to the front and be saved. Well, what happened to all these people around me? Are they saved? Have they walked the aisle? You know, have they given their heart to God? And all that. And I really had to just keep working through that and just kind of ignoring my doubts and just keep moving. And the more I did it, the easier it became. So I just got a real wide vision of what faith could be. And it wasn't in a box. It was wide and it was growing, and it could be shuffled anytime you wanted to, and no one would look down on you or say, what? You know, you never questioned anything the way I was raised. So it's been very refreshing. I did the right thing. Kurt, thank you, Kurt. It was a good move for me.
My memories at home of our faith life was prayers. We would do prayers before bedtime. It started with, now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And then we matured into the 3 that we would always do is the Lord's Prayer, John 3:16, and Psalms 23. And we would just say that out loud together. Speaking of her Baptist roots, one time, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but one time she would always come and do prayers individually with us in our rooms. And one time after our prayers, she said, ask Jesus to enter your heart. And it was some sort of a thing. And I could not have felt more uncomfortable saying out loud, ask Jesus out loud to enter your heart and be with you. And I was like, it's already there, and I don't have to ask him. It just makes
That's
me
a great
feel
relief.
so uncomfortable to have to say this in front of you.
In Sunday school, we would delve into that just as a group of young parents getting older and older and older. And they would say, oh, I don't know what's right, so I don't know what to teach my children about faith and about God and Jesus. I would say, forget it. Teach them what you believe, and God will take care of the rest.
My most vivid memories are just being at church with my family. We were every Sunday family, sat in the same pew, surrounded by the same people, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and my grandparents, my dad's parents. I loved sitting next to my grandmother because she always had a Ziploc bag of little hard candies that she would give us when we got kind of antsy. She also had a very soft shoulder to lean on because I'm kind of a sleepy kid, so I just lean my head on her shoulder and doze off sometimes and wake back up. There, at some point in my youth, I recognized with my grandparent, the way we would sit once my grandpa was on the end, and then my grandma, and then the rest of us in between. But when we'd get up for communion, my grandpa would get out first and kind of pull back, my grandma would come, and then we'd all just file in front. And sort of shepherding us as 3 generations. No, but not the same. It's really cool. So when we got married, the first couple years we'd kind of go here and there, but pretty shortly we got a phone call from the church saying, hey, we're starting a new couple Sunday school class, are you guys interested? And of course I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And Rob knew it was important to me. He sort of knew that was the deal. If he was joining our family, this is what we were going to do, so he was happy to come too. So we started in the Honeymooner Sunday school class. Within a year we had Peyton, 2 years later Karsten, 2 years later Cooper. And so once we started our own family, it just felt like a repeat of my childhood.
We went to church every Sunday. We sat in the fourth pew on the right side, and my grandpa was on the end, and we were all mixed in between, and my grandma would have her little candy bag, and she would do tic-tac-toe with me or play the little dot game, and I didn't realize how much my experience has mirrored my mom's experience, and the prayers at night.
And I pray with, not as much with Peyton and Karsten now, but especially when the kids were little, we would pray together every night. We would pray out loud together. You take what has felt comfortable to you, and then you tweak it a bit. So now it's my little twist on what I do with my kids. Growing up in the same church, my whole life, and going every Sunday, there were lots of other adults that were around me all the time. My parents' Sunday school class had amazing people that loved me, and truly when they would see you on Sunday, you could tell by their face they just really were glad to see you. But Kathleen Jones has always been a big part of our life. I mean, she literally has been a part of my entire spiritual life, where staff members can come and go and be there for periods of time. She's been there for my entire life.
Yeah, you have to be careful, it's positive and negative, because these people are gonna surround you and they're gonna support you because they've been with your family for the longest time. But when you get introduced as Debbie's granddaughter, or Kurt's granddaughter, or Kurt and Debbie's kid, or Leslie's daughter, it also reflects on them what you say and do, so you also have to think about whatever you're doing, so nobody goes up to Debbie Shaw and is like, what is your granddaughter doing?
I loved that I was surrounded by a congregation that supported questioning and wondering and delving in and making it your own, and serving others in mission work. And I felt like obviously this church was super important of developing that in me, and I hope so much that's for my children. I hope that they don't feel like church is an obligation, that they are there for themselves and not because I tell them they need to come every Sunday. That over the years and as they grow in their faith, that they start to form their own connections that they can hang on to and carry off into their adulthood.
This is why I was afraid what happened is I get a little emotional and I don't cry. So I was here to speak.
Oh, you're really bad. I'm gonna have to work on this.